continue our special broadcast here of the ceremony of 9/11, remembering 22 years later, with a live look at Lower Manhattan there and former Mayor Bloomberg there and so many others, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Casey DeSantis, First Lady of Florida, again in attendance there in Manhattan. Obviously, so many stories to remember, but there are also a lot of elements to this story, including the men behind these attacks. We're learning President Joe Biden has rejected a potential Department of Defense plea deal that would have excused 9/11 architects and co-conspirators from potentially facing the death penalty.
The decision coming just days before today's 22nd anniversary of the terrorist attacks, which took the lives of nearly 3,000 people. Our national correspondent Logan Ratick reports.
President Biden, following Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's recommendation, rejected terms of a plea deal that would have allowed 5 alleged 9/11 co-conspirators to avoid a trial and solitary confinement. A White House spokesperson says the president does not believe the terms of the rejected plea deal were appropriate. The plea bargain would have allowed the 9/11 attacks alleged mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 4 other Guantanamo Bay detainees to avoid the death penalty. But military prosecutors are now trying to hash out a new plea deal with the detainees against the wishes of 9/11 families.
Their lawyers have more information than our lawyers. We think a plea deal is about not having all that information released.
Family members of 9/11 victims want a trial so they can learn more about the plot. And they believe al-Qaeda and the hijackers received assistance from the Saudi Arabian government.
The optics from the administration have been horrifying. The Saudi intelligence agency has been implicated in the support for these 9/11 attacks. So President Biden has done nothing about that.
And these family members tell Newsmax that they believe that the Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden administrations have gone to great lengths to protect the Saudi government.
Part of never forgetting is holding them accountable and giving the 9/11 families, our loved ones that were murdered, the first responders that are still dying to this day, give us justice, accountability, and closure.
And those 9/11 family members tell me that they're disappointed President Biden is in Alaska today instead of visiting one, if not all, of the 3 sites of the 9/11 attacks: Shanksville, Pennsylvania, Ground Zero in New York, and right here at the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. But in the president's place today is First Lady Jill Biden. She's attending the ceremony here at the Pentagon. Back to you.
All right, Logan, thank you very much. We're putting this on the docket in today's National Report Court to discuss the legalities of these plea deals. With us now, Rachel Kugel is a trial attorney, Randy Zellin, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. Welcome to you both, and thanks so much for coming on. Again, this is a sort of a different National Report Court for today, but Rachel, if you could, just talk to us about what plea deal is being considered here, and realistically, could we see something like this happen?
Yeah, so this was essentially a plea offer that would take the death penalty off the table, where these guys would agree essentially to a life sentence with some stipulations relating to whether or not they were ever going to be placed into solitary confinement, for example, whether they would receive medical treatment for certain injuries and ailments that they alleged were sustained as part of their questioning during, in particular, the CIA pieces of their questioning. But essentially, I mean, I think what we have to realize here is that this thing was really doomed from the start as far as being a legitimate trial. And realistically, we're getting to the point, we are now 22 years into this thing without convictions of these guys, without trials of these guys. And I think realistically, you know, in the interest of seeing justice served in the lifetime of these family members and in the lifetime of these perpetrators, you know, a plea deal is looking like the only way to really end this thing at this point. You know, what is the alternative at this point is, I think, a legitimate question to ask.
There's obviously pushback. Randy Zellin, thinking back on a day like today, almost 3,000 lives lost, specifically 22 years ago, and then obviously calculating the war on terror, the 20-year war, Afghanistan, Iraq, so on and so forth. You know, remembering this, ultimately, you tell anyone that this mastermind behind this terror attack on our great nation is going to get a plea deal. That doesn't sit well with people. Can you talk to us about that, Randy?
Yes. And when you talk about solemnity of moments and how many times in your lifetime can you say where you were standing, the room that you were in, the clothes that you were wearing when the first plane hit? And initially it was like, oh, perhaps a pilot had a heart attack. I could tell you the ugly green suit that I was wearing, where I was standing, and what I was doing when I heard. That's how solemn this moment is. But there is an equally gritty and uncomfortable job to be done here. And that's the job of a prosecutor. And prosecutors have to make difficult decisions. And that's why victims, unlike in a civil case, are not parties. It is the people or the United States that is the party. And the prosecutor answers to the United States, not to an individual victim. And yes, as much as I could possibly claim to understand that I know what these people are going through, who've lost loved ones and friends and family in 9/11, I was fortunate I did not. So I can't speak to the personal part of it. But from a criminal justice standpoint, there are reasons why a trial is problematic, particularly for the government. It's unpleasant, but there are issues concerning the confessions, whether those confessions were coerced as a result of waterboarding and what we call enhanced interrogation tactics. It could be horrible for the United States government. And you know something, there is something to be said for not putting the family through the horror. They can get the closure with a plea of guilty. They can speak at the sentencing. There are lots of things that can be done, but ultimately, there are national security issues and embarrassment issues.
Again, we heard from an advocate who wants to, again, stop the idea of a plea deal. He was just on our program a bit earlier. He said there is a bipartisan effort moving forward to at least put a pause on this before there can be further negotiations in place. We appreciate you both coming on today. Rachel and Randy, thank you so much for your time.